Wow, I haven't done this one in a while. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be talking about the Gary Lineker match of the day situation. It's been a while since I've done a commentary video, so let's get straight to the point. How about that one? Start off with Gary Lineker made some comments on Twitter regarding a new policy regarding migration. Now, I'm not going to give really my opinion too much on this new policy because it's beside the point. And the BBC might censor me as well. But he basically likened the language. He didn't criticise the policy, may I add. He likened the language used to the party that ran Germany in the 1930s and during World War II. A certain Austrian party. I won't name him because it will probably get this video taken down, and I don't want my video to be censored. I think this is a very, very good video. But what I'm trying to say is he likened the language used to... Okay, I'm just going to say it, the Nazi party that ran Germany in the 1930s and also were behind the deaths of millions of people. Not good people. And to an extent, I don't exactly disagree with him. But quickly he was taken off the air by the BBC for a breach of impartiality guidelines. Because the BBC generally tend to take impartiality incredibly seriously. And of course, this meant that several presenters I meant to say, pulled out of Match of the Day in protest. For context, Gary Lineker hosts Match of the Day, which is a show where they basically look at all the football highlights and talk about it. It's the least political thing imaginable. Several people pulled out of certain things, not even just Match of the Day, because no one would represent it. So the BBC basically ran a 20-minute edition. They just showed all the highlights with no commentary, no punditry, no nothing, and they just decided, yeah. They just decided, you know what, we're just going to air it with no punditry, no nothing. It was incredibly boring, as you can probably guess. So the BBC, they were in a bit of hot water here, because their reputation was in shambles. Let's be honest here, their reputation was in complete shambles. Because essentially what they were doing was censorship. That's essentially what they were doing. And you know what the internet does not like censorship. The BBC also announced they were cancelling Football Focus, Final Score, because everyone was pulling out. 5 Live was pre-recorded because the guy refused to present it in protest. It was nuts, and we were just getting update after update after update after update. And the reason why Gary Lineker, he refused to apologise for the tweets he made. I don't think he should have had to apologise. Should he have said what he said? Well, if it breached impartiality guidelines, then no, he shouldn't have. And the interesting thing about this is that Gary Lineker is not a BBC member of staff. He is a freelance journalist. He doesn't work for the BBC. He works as a freelance so basically he's not a permanent member of staff. So in my opinion, he shouldn't have to adhere to the same impartiality guidelines. He also shouldn't have to adhere to the same guidelines because he doesn't report on politics. He instead reports on football. My opinion is also, why is he allowed to criticise Qatar's government but not the UK government? If we're staying impartial, then why is he allowed to criticise Qatar's government? Not that the criticism was undeserved. It was. Because Qatar, I made a whole video about that if you want to go check that out. It's not one of my best videos, If you want to go check that out, please feel free. Several presenters pulling out in protest, obviously. And of course, I sided with this because I feel like there's a big discussion to be had here over impartiality. Now, he has since deleted the tweet in question that was so controversial, where he likened the language used by Suella Braverman to the Nazi Party, basically, in 1930s Germany. And to an extent, I personally can't say that he's wrong, to be honest. If anybody knows me personally, they know I don't exactly have the fondest opinion of our government. They're not even our government, they're just the government. We didn't elect any of these people. I'll get into that in a bit, though, because I'm sure you don't want to just see me as some anti-conservative person just ranting about censorship, because I'm sure you want to hear a pretty neutral, and I'd say I'm a pretty neutral person. But essentially, what it boils down to is, because Gary Lineker doesn't report on politics, should he be allowed to express his political opinions? I personally think he should. And it's not the fact that he said what he said that annoyed me that he got suspended for it, because if BBC had been consistent with this, then fair enough, but they weren't consistent with it. For example, Alan Sugar has praised the Conservative Party on multiple occasions and given political opinions pretty regularly. His show was never taken off the air. It's still on the air. Jeremy Clarkson does the same. And it also doesn't help the fact that the chairman of the BBC helped Boris Johnson secure a loan and donated to the Conservative Party. Not exactly impartiality at its finest. Eventually, after several shows were pulled, Football Focus, all of that, they all made up, and Lineker didn't apologise for the tweets, but he did take the one referencing 1930s Germany down. I assume, and the BBC has announced an independent review into its policy now. I think the discussion really is about the BBC's credibility, because people don't think the BBC are very impartial, and to be frank, I think they actually do a very good job of being impartial. But this doesn't help their reputation. And Gary Lineker will be back presenting soon. But I think, really, Match of the Day would have gone ahead if everyone else, you know, if everyone else didn't pull out. Match of the Day would have gone ahead as normal. And it made Match of the Day 2 also didn't go ahead as normal. There was only 14 minutes. Match of the Day was only 20 minutes. It was a bit chaotic, if you get what I mean. But yeah, and it's got bad when even I have to agree with Piers Morgan, who actually sided with Gary Lineker. So did Jeremy Clarkson. Not on his political opinion, but that he shouldn't have been suspended for just simply voicing his opinion. Which I think's fair. Now, the BBC have announced an independent review into the impartiality guidelines, which I think that's fair. And whether Gary Lineker should actually have to adhere to the same guidelines as everyone else, because, as I said, he is not a permanent member of staff. Now, I would get more of the tweets up, but I feel like the main tweet in question has since been taken down, and you know me, I'm not a very good editor. So I do apologise for, this being a bit touch and go, but I feel like I kind of wanted to speak about this, because I think there's lots of discussion to be had about impartiality, and whether Gary Lineker should even have to adhere to the same guidelines as everybody else, who is a permanent member of staff at the BBC, It also doesn't help the BBC's credibility anymore because the BBC chairman did help secure a loan for Boris Johnson, the then Prime Minister, which for those Americans is basically like the president in the US. You get what I mean, don't you? But yeah, that is basically the situation in a nutshell. I've tried to make this as short as possible so that I've tried to make this as short as possible because I've got a bit of a sore throat at the moment, and so that I can get everything in here. Don't expect any more regular commentary videos. I just thought this was an interesting situation that we could discuss. Thank you all for watching though. It's been a pleasure. Please do like, share, subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more of this style of content. I don't know if I'm going to make another commentary video after this one, but I hope this is the start of some more content. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.